Good afternoon to everyone. I think you still have some energy for this last 20 minutes for this talk. So I'm Bertille MAZARI and he's Simonas ZILINSKAS. We are both working at the company Open Source Politics with integrating collaborative tools for now almost a decade. Among those collaborative tools, we've been integrating for 9 years the tools Decidim. I don't know if you ever heard of it. If yes, raise your, oh, nice. 3 people, cool. 4. That's impressive, actually. It's a well-known software who is well-known, but in a niche sector, which is participatory processing and participatory democracy. Otherwise, it's not really known, but just a few words about the Decidim history. It was born in Barcelona 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago, by the municipality of Barcelona, and then was turned into an association who is now maintaining and developing the software. We are just the integrators of the software, and the main integrator in France and partially in Europe. There is more than 500 organizations that are using Decidim around the world. And no, you can stay on this slide. Yes, thank you. And what Decidim does, and it's very interesting for our talk today, is that it enables citizens to participate to a frame of participatory processing. By that I mean that it could take the form of budgeting participatory processes, citizen assemblies, or even municipalities council. So the citizens are able here on those platforms to comment, send proposals, allow budgetings, and vote for budget. So it's all sorts of participations. And what we are going to talk about today is how AI is actually interfering with participatory democracy platforms that we are integrating. So this focus is on Decidim, but of course Decidim is not the only the participatory platform who is targeted by this AI spam that we are going to talk about, but this is our main focus because it's the one we know. So maybe you can, yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to first describe the user experience in Decidim so that you can understand what's the problem and the targets of our developments today is that a user, as I said, can comment, send the proposals, or vote, or do anything on the platforms. And how does that? He has to sign up on the platform and to subscribe with a username, a pseudonym, and he optionally can fill some other optional files, which are, I don't know, what can you, the association links to a Facebook page maybe, or his name, first name, last name, age, anything does he want, but it's optional. One thing that were on the other slide is that all the contributions that are made by the citizens are maybe moderated, but at posteriori. So it's a post-moderation, post-ante-moderation. I don't know how to say it in English. But what I mean is that a contribution is automatically public in the platform, and afterwards, an administrators can moderate the contributions of the citizens, and not the other way around. So now, for like, I don't know, around 4 to 5 years, we've been identifying spam users. So spam users are actually, yes, they popped 5 years ago and generating random contributions. Either random, which doesn't have any context with the participatory process, but also sometimes with link juice and advertising placement. And as we are talking about participatory platforms that are national used, like Assemblée Nationale or the Senate or the European Commission, but also locally, like, I don't know, the cities of Lyon or Marseille, that's kind of a problem that sometimes we've got a link juice to, I don't know, any gambling website. So they don't really look forward to it. So we've been actually, yes, so spam comes from bots and humans. And yes, and they do, when they subscribe to the platform, they do bypass the safeguard we've implemented, for instance, the CAPTCHAs, but also the two-factor authentication, which is becoming harder for us to control and to face this problem, to find a solution. So we've put in place a technology that is currently used. A few years ago, we've implemented a spam account detection that is daily working on acknowledging, is this account a true account or a false account? If it's a 70% probability that it's a false, then it will send an email to an administrator of the platform, and if not, and if it's above 99%, then it will automatically block the user. And of course, the administrator will have a notification of the user that are blocked. And how does this spam account detection is working is that it identifies some flows, also some irregularly pattern in the subscription to the platform. For instance, the optional fields that I was earlier talking about. Mainly, well, all users don't fill them. So they only write down a pseudonym, enter an email address, and then they are logged in. But we've detected that the spam account do fill all the optional fields. So this was, for instance, one of the criteria that we were targeting to signal or to block those users. And it was working, but now it's no longer working. Why not? Maybe I can show you. I don't know if you can see it. Yes. So those were the usual spam that we were detecting. So with some link juice to some gambling, or I don't know what kind of website that was. That's a random one. And but the thing is, it's now really well, highly integrated with the content. I don't know if you all are French-speaking people, but what you can see is that the content of the sentences are totally in the context of the participatory process. So when one human reads this content, this citizen contribution, it has no clue that it's actually a spam that has written it until he clicked on the link juice. And that is making it very difficult for the administrators to detect all the spams that are now on those platforms. And they are asking us, what can we do about it? And that's what we were working on those past few weeks and months. And I'm now gonna let Simonas explain maybe, yes, how do we improve this situation? Thank you.
Cool, thank you very much, Bertille. Hello, everyone. So, the past module, it worked by detecting in a pretty binary way if there is some type of content that are filled in, which are mostly just filled in by bots. So it was pretty much simple, and it was only interested also in the user profiles. As you saw, the usage of large language models to create content that almost perfectly fits into the context of the consultation. It's almost difficult, even for humans, to identify spam on it, and the previous methodology doesn't work anymore. So what we tried to implement was some kind of new fancy AI to do it. However, because we're a company working in the social field, in democracy, etc., we started by identifying some risks. First of all, we didn't want it to cost a lot, because participatory democracy doesn't pay that much, and so we wanted to limit the financial cost. Also, when we're talking about all of the big large language models, there is an environmental impact with it as well. We wanted to limit it as much as possible. Also, we didn't want to be dependent on OpenAI. I think we're pretty aligned on that in this conference. And then, well, last but not least, probably, we wanted the spam detection to work well. So we wanted it to be quality. And so to that, we found a way, or at least we found a way to attempt to solve this problem by using small language models or large language models, and while trying to keep an eye on these risks that we identified. So basically what we're doing is we're using a large language model to categorize spam or not spam with a pretty complex prompt, with some pretty complex instructions, but also with some caveats. So among the large language models, we're trying to use the smallest models possible for the task. I'll show a little bit later how we benchmark them, but we're always trying to use the smallest model. That's both for financial and environmentally impactful reasons. Then we're also trying to reduce the size of the prompt. That's input tokens also produce cost, and so that's something that we are very much concerned with. Then for the environmental impact and for using even smaller language models, what we're doing is we're collecting all of the data of the judgments of the a little bit larger model, and then we're planning to retrain a smaller model, maybe a BERT style model, or I know a 4B kind of model, in order to do this categorization without requiring that much resources. So as the classic AI engineering strategy goes, we start with a huge generalist model to generate a bunch of data, and then we're trying to get it smaller and smaller and smaller to reduce the financial and environmental impacts. For the model provider, we're choosing like small models. We're choosing them from a variety of semi-open models. I'll be able to talk a little bit about that later on. And then we're choosing models also that are pretty popular, that are suggested and shown by multiple providers so that we're not attached to one of them. And then for quality flagging, and that we'll show, we had done some benchmarking at the very start of the project in order to test different solutions. So the first step was the benchmarking. So we created a little Hugging Face space in which what you can input is a prompt template. You select a model among the models that are available on Scaleway generative APIs. You enter an API key, you select a bunch of parameters that you can tweak and test, and then we developed a little benchmark of real cases of spam, and then we saw like which model responds best for the size and for the cost, for the price, and also in accordance with all the different temperature, max tokens, top P, etc. Something which is very important for us is to have as little false positives as possible. If you want to test this out, you can. It's on Hugging Face on spam detection OSP. It will work on our data sets, but that's something that can be an inspiration project for like if you're doing something similar. Then we have been testing a bunch of these different models. We kept track of all of the benchmarks that we did. And then we started integrating it into Decidim and into Langfuse. So that's the step we are at. For those that don't know Langfuse, it's an open source project. Not really sure what the pricing model is. I think they have their cloud provider, and also it's kind of an open core project. But what it allows to do is to keep track of all the different prompts that we use, of the performance of the models, to gather the data set, etc. And we are self-hosting it, so we stay in control of the data that we put there. Langfuse is something that's pretty crucial, especially to this current phase in which we are, where we are going from the benchmarking and from the integration into Decidim to like really production usage of these models. Large language models cost a lot, environmentally, financially, they produce a lot of risks. So this observability is something that's very useful and important for us. So that's about it from my side and our side. If you want to discuss it, feel free to reach out or catch us after this event, or if we have time for questions,